We're running. Okay, good. Let's roll. You know that Goodman Brown is a story that I love, so you're probably not surprised that we're going to spend a second week talking about this story. But we're going to be looking at a different angle of it. Okay? We're going to be looking at a different angle of literature. And as you know, we've been talking about the various elements of literature. Well, this week we're talking about the use of symbolism in literature. What's symbolism? A symbol is a sign of. A symbol is something that stands for something other than itself. Okay? Um, and looking at symbols in a story, looking at an author's use of symbolism, can help you dive more deeply into the story. Okay? And that's what we want to do. You have been working all semester long to do more than just read a story, but to know more about what that story is really all about. And so we've talked about all the different pieces that help put a piece of literature together. You know, character development and plot and theme and irony and etc., setting, whatever, okay? And so today we want to talk about an author's use of symbols in a story. And an author uses symbols in a story by using words that have a particular meaning straight out in the story, but these same words also have a deeper meaning. They draw you further into the story. They draw you further, perhaps, into the theme. They draw you further into what the author wants you to think about beyond just the action of the story. Now, do all stories have symbols? Probably not. Some are just simple stories. Hawthorne uses a lot of symbols. He wants to draw us all more deeply into the ideas that he wants us to think about. Okay? In the lesson for this week that you'll read online, I mentioned that Hawthorne thought that the Puritans were a very hypocritical kind of society, a holier than thou society. We're better than you. You can't be part of our society unless you have the same heavy duty beliefs that we have. How did it get like that? When the Puritans first came here, they came with the idea that they wanted to practice their religion. That's been taught to you as religious freedom. It's not religious freedom. The Puritans did not believe in religious freedom. They believed that if you wanted to live with them, you had to practice their method of religion. Okay? And so they were, they weren't tolerant of any other religions other than their own. So Hawthorne felt that they thought they were better than everybody else by being so intolerant. They were setting themselves above the rest. But in 1692, as you know, the Salem went through these witchcraft trials where they actually did burn some people at the stake for being witches and such, because these people were violating their puritanical code. Now, how did it get like that? It's a little bit important for you to know that too. When they first came here, life was really tough. Half the people in their colony starved to death the first year. Okay, so the governor, who had originally set them up in a socialistic society, all for one, one for all. Okay, so there was socialism in their initial society. Okay, well, that didn't work for them, and that's why half of them died the first year. And you can understand how it might not work. Would you be willing to work as hard for the whole community as you would for your own family? So the governor took after a year, he took the whole community, the whole society, the whole colony, and divided it up into little plots of land so that every family had their own piece of land and could do their own business. And so when you worked, you were working for your family. At that point, things started to go very well. But as part of the backdrop of this, again, these were people who were deep into their Puritan religion, and their philosophy was work hard, get ahead for the greater glory of God. Now, of course, it was also for survival for themselves and their family, but they were religious people. Excuse me. So they based it around work hard, get ahead for the greater glory of God. Okay? Well, after not too many years, their society was really up and running. Okay? They weren't on the verge of starvation. They knew how to farm. They learned how to make clothes to help, and so, somebody might become a seamstress, somebody else do farming enough for a bunch of families so that he could trade, somebody else might become a blacksmith, so they were getting different trades. They weren't starving anymore. They were establishing more of a community, okay? And as life gets a little better, as life gets a little easier, when you're not at the point where you have to worry about where tomorrow's meal is coming from or tonight's dinner, then very often that role of God in your life diminishes a little bit. Okay? So no longer really were they working hard to get ahead for the greater glory of God. They were working hard to get ahead for the greater glory of me. Okay? So, then in about 1685, there was a huge religious revival. Okay? And so the role of God suddenly became more important to them, or at least it became important to them to make it look like the role of God was important. Okay, so they really worked hard to take on the appearance of God being the most important thing in their life. Okay, that's what Hawthorne is talking about. Okay, so when you get to Salem in 1692, and we have the witches' trials, these people are setting themselves up above anybody who is less holy than they are. And of course, a witch is a satanic individual, a devil worshiper, somebody who has put the devil above God. So, in a sense, you can understand why they wouldn't want these people in their society anyway. That just makes sense. But but even so, they killed about 20 to 30 people, put a lot of people in jail, they were just very hypocritical about all of this because, again, the role of God was not what they were trying to act like. So that's what Hawthorne is hitting upon in this story, okay? And he uses a lot of symbols in the story to make us think more deeply than just what happened in the story. Now, in the lesson, I referred to Faith's pink ribbons, okay? And I explained that one pretty well in there. So they play a significant role in this story. Think about that. There is a staff that the character that Goodman meets in the forest is carrying, and read that carefully because there's a lot of symbolism in that staff. Think about the witch's Sabbath. Think about hellfire. Okay, I don't want to go on and on with giving you ideas of it, but that's what symbols are all about. Symbols stand for, and I give you a whole bunch of examples in the lesson. So we know, a piece of cloth with what is it, 13? Well, anyway, 50 stars on a field of blue and red and white stripes interspersed. I think it's 7 red stripes, 6 white stripes, but I can't remember now off the top of my head. That's not America, but that stands for America. And when we see it, we think of the United States of America because it is a symbol of the United States of America. Just as a cross with Christ on it, crucified, is a symbol of Christ giving his life for the salvation of mankind. That what you may have hanging in your house, isn't Christ dying for you. It is a symbol of Christ dying for you. Okay? So we're talking about symbols this week. Now, a question for you that I have is, I want you to think about the color of the shirt that I have on in this video. Okay? Think about that and think about why, for this story, I would have on a red shirt. Okay? Again, symbols take you deeper into a story. Thinking about the symbols makes us think more deeply, other than just the action of the story. So, I just jotted down a couple of things. When Goodman Brown meets the character in the forest, and you can pretty quickly figure out who it is, he says, "Faith kept me back a while." Now, faith is the first word in the sentence, so it's a capital F. But is he saying faith his wife, or is he saying his faith? Okay, that's some of the symbols that go there. So the story's full of symbols like that. Okay, late in the story, at the Sabbath, the character who is running the Sabbath says, "Welcome again, my children, to the communion of your race." Communion, symbolism there. Okay, and when Goodman Brown is raging through the forest after whatever has floated overhead and these pink ribbons come down, we read, "The fiend in his own shape is less hideous than when he rages in the breast of man." Okay? Symbols there. So the story is filled with symbols, and that's what you're writing about this week. Okay? So you know what your question is this week. Why am I wearing the shirt that I'm wearing? Okay. Why red? Why red? Okay. And the lesson is well spelled out for you. The question that you have to write is well spelled out for you. So attack that. Your grades should be posted. Midterm grades should be posted before you actually even see this video. So feel free to do that. And questions, you know where to get me. Keep up the great work. Your essays were astounding this week. Okay? So keep up the good work, and we'll talk to you soon. But you know where to get me if you need me.